Usain Bolt is a well-known Jamaican sprinter. The funny thing about his name is that it is Bolt, while he is or used to be the fastest man on earth. So his name is actually referring to his amazing ability. Just like the English poet William Wordsworth. His name is a reflection of what he does. We call that in English an aptronym. And it is something that you can only understand and be able to make such references if you do understand English and know the meaning of the words Bolt and Wordsworth. Otherwise, you can't refer to this linguistic subtlety, or when heard, it will go right over your head. But what does any of this have to do with the Qur'an? Well, one of the biggest claims against the Qur'an is that it was authored by Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, since he was the one dictating his companions. But surprisingly, the Qur'an contains some subtle clues and aptronym-like references to other languages that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, could not have possibly known himself, proving in an interesting way the divinity of this book and emphasizing the linguistic marvel of the Qur'an. To understand more what I mean, let's look at this first example. At the beginning of Surah Maryam, Allah mentions Prophet Zakaria, but notice the choice of words when Allah first talks about him in the second ayah. ذِكْرُ رَحْمَةِ رَبِّكَ عَبْدَهُ زَكَرِيَّا. The name Zakaria is originally a Hebrew name, which literally means the mention of God, or the mention of the Lord. And notice how the ayah starts in Arabic. ذِكْرُ رَحْمَةِ رَبِّكَ, which provides an incredible reference to the meaning of the name Zakaria in Hebrew, but delivering it in Arabic, producing a satisfying symmetry to the ayah. A mention of the mercy of your Lord to his servant Zakaria, the mention of the Lord. If you think this is far-fetched or a bit too constrained, let us check another example. This ayah speaks of Ibrahim's wife when she received the news of having Ishaq. But take a good look at the choice of words here. وَامْرَأَتُهُ قَائِمَةٌ فَضَحِكَتْ. The word ضحكت means laughed. Do you know how many times this word was used in the Qur'an? Well, it was chosen to be used in the Qur'an only once, in this very ayah, when she received the news of having Ishaq. Now, the name Ishaq in Hebrew is Yitzchak, which literally means to laugh. And it gets even better. The rest of the ayah. وَمِن وَرَاءِ إِسْحَاقَ يَعْقُوبَ. So Allah specifically used وَمِن وَرَاء. And after Ishaq, Yaqub. Can you guess what the name Yaqub means in Hebrew? Well, it means the one who comes after. So with each name, there is that subtle reference in its Hebraic origin, showing that the one who wrote this must know Hebrew. Otherwise, these references would have been impossible to come up with. Here's a third example, and you will start seeing it here yourself. يا يحيى خذ الكتاب بقوة وآتيناه الحكم صبيا وحنانا من لدنا وزكاة وكان تقيا. This ayah talks about Prophet Yahya. Here, Allah uses a very unique word describing what He granted His Prophet, Hanana, which means compassion, kindness, gracefulness. This word was not used in the Qur'an except in this context in relation to His Prophet Yahya. And I think by now, you can already guess the literal translation of the name Yahya or Yahuhanan, which then literally means the Lord has shown compassion or kindness, which is another incredible reference to what the actual meaning in Hebrew is. Even the name Ibrahim, Millata Abikum Ibrahim, it is the religion of your father, Abraham. Again, the name Ibrahim literally means the father of many nations in Hebrew. And Allah refers to him in this ayah as your father, the father of many nations. But the Qur'an, being the miracle that it is, it takes such references to an even deeper level. In this ayah, when Allah gave Bani Israel a command, خُذُوا مَا آتَيْنَاكُمْ بِقُوَّةٍ وَاسْمَعُوا, take what we have given you with determination and listen. But let's see what they said. قَالُوا سَمِعْنَا وَعَصَيْنَا. They said, we hear and we disobey. Well, from the surface, this sounds like a normal ayah. Bani Israel refusing Allah's command. But here's something very interesting. If you look at how this story is mentioned in the Torah, specifically in Deuteronomy 5:27, you will notice that it says, we will listen and obey. Now this is of course a translated version from the original Hebrew text. So let's look at what this phrase sounds like in its original Hebrew. وَشَمِعْنُوا وَعَصِينُوا. This is what we hear and we obey sounds like in Hebrew. And in the Qur'an it says, قَالُوا سَمِعْنَا وَعَصَيْنَا. We heard and we disobeyed. You can clearly hear the similarity of how these two phrases sound like across the two languages, which is a clear reference to what they claim to have said in the Torah, while in reality they listened but they disobeyed. Such references that transcend and go beyond a single language requires that you know both Arabic and Hebrew to get it, let alone to produce something like this. And this was something that Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, could not have done himself, simply because he did not only know Hebrew, but he was even unlettered in Arabic. But it is the one who knows everything that has revealed the Qur'an. And while such subtleties may have not been this clear to the Arabs, since they were more challenging to Bani Israel, there were other types of linguistic and stylistic subtleties that can be seen and noticed by the Arabs, like a portion of this ayah whose meaning reflects how it can actually be read. وَهُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارَ وَالشَّمْسَ وَالْقَمَرَ كُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ يَسْبَحُونَ. And he is the one who created the night and the day and the sun and the moon, all in an orbit, swimming. Interestingly, this part of the ayah can be read the same way in both directions. كُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ. كُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ, referring to the actual meaning of the phrase itself. Finally, if you are already thinking, well, I can make something similar to what we have seen today. Some Arab poets have even written poems that could be read from right to left and from left to right. And by looking up some meanings of names, I too can come up with such references. And this is exactly where most of these oppositions get it wrong. They only look at the Qur'an from a single angle, and they want to imitate it, and they leave everything else behind. And then when challenged, they complain about moving the goalpost. The Qur'an is miraculous because it contains layers upon layers upon layers of miracles of all kinds and types. There are so many angles and aspects to it, which are all elegantly embedded into the text, and all of this exists at the same time in the same text, while providing accurate, scientifically correct, uncontradicting, and just simply linguistically marvelous text. But for us, it is not a mystery how something can be so perfect, because it is the word of Allah. Thanks for watching. If you want to start learning the Tajweed, then start with this playlist. And also, don't forget to check my latest book about Tajweed and download the companion app. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.